I'm Trisha Gee. I am a developer advocate, Java champion, and author, I guess. I think what you'll find, because it's an amplifier and because it basically exposes the problems in your system that were there before that you didn't know were there. The most common thing that I saw, because I was working for Gradle and we did a lot of build side of stuff, is we saw a lot more code being produced, a lot more tests taking longer, so the continuous delivery pipeline got a lot of pressure. But I think generally speaking what you'll find is whichever part of your system is like the weakest, it's going to expose that part. It's not about one thing which is going to fix one problem. It's about really understanding the whole system. It's about understanding even the whole organization, the whole enterprise. Like, where does IT and technology and software fit into that? What are you really trying to deliver? That's a bit difficult for us as developers because we don't have a lot of control over that, but we can help to smooth and create efficiencies in terms of questioning the business. What is this feature? What is it for? How do I measure if it's successful? On the writing code end, there's more around what are good, solid engineering principles that we use? Things like, in terms of code, things like modularity, coupling, cohesion. Like, even if we're not writing the code ourselves, we can still instruct the AI to do that kind of thing. Working iteratively, getting fast feedback. And then that applies downstream at the continuous delivery side as well. So what do our builds look like? How long do they take? How parallel are they? Are they giving us value? Are we ignoring failing tests? Do we have flaky tests? And then the DORA metrics in terms of like, measuring how fast the stuff that we've written gets out to our end users. So everything basically. But if you are able to measure a lot of that stuff, then you could start to see which bits of the process are working and which bits need more efficiency or a bit of focus. If you measure lines of code for productivity, you'll get more lines of code. But really productivity is not just about what we call these activity metrics. It's not just lines of code, it's not just pull requests, merges, features delivered. But developer experience and productivity is the whole piece. It's, did it get out to the user? Did it meet the user's needs? Is the user paying more stuff? You know, is the business getting what they need from what the developers are doing? So what you're measuring there impacts what you're going to optimize. And so you do need to be much more careful about like what that whole piece looks like. Yeah, I mean, specifically, I've been spending a lot of time looking at the SPACE framework. So the SPACE framework is kind of a framework for creating a framework for measuring. So for example, DORA is kind of like a subset of the SPACE framework. And SPACE is, if I remember, satisfaction, performance, activity, communication and collaboration, efficiency and flow. And the idea of the SPACE framework is you pick metrics from maybe 3 of those different dimensions and measure those. So like communication is more difficult to measure than the activity metrics that we talked about, but maybe more helpful. For example, like Fred Brooks said, the communication overhead is the thing that stops us actually getting anything done. So you want to measure things like satisfaction or flow, which are more fluffy and developer focused, as well as specific things like how many pull requests did we do. You'll find with those measurements, they tend to be intention. So yes, you can write more code, but no, you didn't do what the business wanted. And so you actually do want 3 metrics which are intention so that you can kind of pull generally towards where you want to be. But it does mean you need to know where you want to be. And so measuring lines of code or tokens spent or headcount reduced, like that will help optimize that stuff. Does it optimize what you're delivering for the business? No, because you're not measuring that. You need to measure, did it do what I wanted it to do? Did it get out to the user in time? Did they start spending more money with us? Did it fix our retention problem? Those are the things which matter much more to the business, or should do. I think for me, one of the key things here is about experimentation and the scientific method. Something we all learned at school: have a hypothesis, do your investigation, measure the results, have a conclusion. Generally speaking, we have not been great at that in our industry. We generally get requirements, write the code, chuck it out there, and then you're kind of done. You need to have this closed feedback loop of, for example, with AI. What are we trying to achieve with AI? Do we want to deliver more features more quickly to the customer, or do we want to perhaps deliver higher quality features? Because those two things are not necessarily the same thing. Then you have a hypothesis, which is using Claude Code is going to allow me to deliver more quality features faster, which is like everything, but whatever. And then you run that for a short period of time, measure that, and figure out whether you're going in the right direction. The idea is to run short experiments, measure the result, iterate, make one change, and change things slowly. And this is just classic science, really, but it's something that we have not been very good at doing. So in terms of engineering practices, you want to measure it. Have a hypothesis, figure out how to measure it, get feedback, and iterate over that.